There comes a moment in every earnest seeker's life when he must step out of the shadow of wishful thinking and into the glaring light of responsibility. It is in that moment not of desperation, but of decision that destiny is forged. You, dear listener, are not a passive observer in this universe. You are the commander of your thought, the gatekeeper of your emotion, and the architect of your fortune. And if you have not yet realized this, you have been lied to. The world has told you that your circumstances create your thinking, but I tell you, with the authority of centuries of tested truth, it is your thinking that creates your circumstances, always. All wealth, all power, all greatness begins as thought. And those thoughts that attract wealth quickly, the thoughts that burn a golden path into physical reality, are not born in emotional chaos, nor nurtured in a climate of undisciplined feeling. They are forged in the silence of a mastered mind, guided by principle and elevated by purpose. You must now understand, not merely accept, that wealth is the child of law, not luck, and that law, immutable and precise, governs the world of men no less than the motion of planets. And so, I bring to you not a list of tricks, but 5 pillars of mental alchemy, 5 distinct and effective ways to think that attract wealth quickly, because they remove resistance, direct intention, and align you with the supreme laws that reward clarity, calm, and cause-driven action. 1. Think with detachment, master emotion, or be mastered by it. The mind that is governed by emotion is as useful as a rudderless ship in a storm. It may be vast in structure, but it is doomed to the mercy of every wave. Detachment is not indifference. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to become enslaved by feeling. It is the supremacy of purpose over impulse. The man who can detach from his emotions does not lose his humanity. He claims his divinity. Emotion is fuel, but you must become the engineer. For if your thoughts are set ablaze by anger, jealousy, fear, or approval seeking, you will burn through your power before you ever reach your destination. But the detached thinker he watches, emotion rise, like steam off hot iron, and chooses. He does not react, he responds. Let me be precise. Emotional reactivity is the most expensive habit a man can have. It will cost you opportunity, it will cost you respect, it will cost you wealth. If you act when you are angry, you will spend years cleaning up what 5 seconds of clarity could have prevented. But if you can detach, if you can remain neutral, you can perceive patterns others miss, make decisions others fear, and execute with the calmness of a general, not the chaos of a peasant. There is a principle I call the law of mental neutrality. It states, only the neutral mind can choose the highest response. To detach emotionally is not to suppress it, is to rise above the storm and think from the mountain. If you want to attract wealth quickly, you must begin not with acquisition, but with command, the command of your emotional center, because you will never out-earn your emotional chaos. 2. Think in cause, never in complaint. Every man walking this earth is either living in cause or in effect. Most, let us be frank, live in the domain of effect. They respond to what happens. They explain what happened. They complain about what happened. But only a rare few, and these are the creators, the leaders, the wealthy, live in the domain of cause. The man who lives in cause does not ask, why did this happen to me? He asks, what thought, what belief, what action created this result, and what thought will create a different one? Let me reveal to you the invisible prison that keeps men broke. It is not poverty. It is the identification with effect. As long as you believe the world does something to you, you are a puppet, and wealth avoids you. But the moment you think in cause truly, deeply, deliberately, you become a force of nature. You no longer chase wealth, you cause it. A man of cause creates results. He alters his thinking, his environment, his habits. He does not ask for permission, he gives orders to his own mind. He sets his goal, and he walks toward it with a sense of divine entitlement. Why? Because he knows that wealth is not magic, it is mechanical. And the mind that thinks mechanically, in cause-effect logic, has the advantage. If this thought produces that feeling, and that feeling produces that action, and that action produces that result, then the chain is yours to engineer. Stop thinking in hope. Start thinking in systems. Stop thinking emotionally. Start thinking structurally. The universe is not sentimental. It is structured. So too must be your thinking. You attract wealth quickly not when you plead for it, but when you align yourself with the principles that cause it. 3. Think with definite purpose. Vague desire is the death of speed. Vague thinking is the greatest enemy of quick results. Wealth does not respond to confusion, it responds to definiteness. If you say you want more money, you have already declared to the universe your uncertainty, and uncertainty attracts nothing but delay. But when you are precise, when your goal is clear, quantified, visualized, and emotionally grounded, you create a magnetic field of mental energy that draws the conditions, the people, and the opportunities into alignment. This is not mysticism. It is concentration. It is definiteness of purpose, the first principle of achievement, and the root of all directed thought. The mind that wanders, worries, and waffles never builds power. It leaks power. But the mind that is definite, that wakes up with purpose, that speaks with clarity, that acts with decision, that mind becomes a transmitter. And like a radio tower tuned to a specific frequency, it attracts only what harmonizes with it. Let me put it plainly. Wealth is not attracted to need. It is attracted to clarity. Would you board a ship whose captain doesn't know the destination? Then why should wealth trust you with its presence when your mind does not even know where it's going? Definiteness is not optional. It is essential. And it begins in thought. Formulate your purpose, refine your aim, see it clearly, state it boldly, pursue it unflinchingly. Because a clear mind is a rich mind, and vague thinking is a silent saboteur. So, think in discipline, let no thought pass unexamined. A man may control his business, his finances, even his schedule, and still be a slave if he does not control his thinking. The disciplined mind is the sovereign mind, and the undisciplined mind, though it may be educated, talented, or charming, is as powerless as a chariot with no reins. Let me warn you, your mind is not your friend until you train it. It will lie, it will dramatize, it will fantasize, it will distract, it will catastrophize. And it will do all of this not because it is evil, but because it is undirected. Discipline of thought means this: no thought enters without inspection. No emotion escapes analysis. No belief goes unquestioned. You become a philosopher, a detective, and a king in your own inner court. Autosuggestion, the art of planting thought, deliberately becomes your tool. You do not wait for belief, you feed it. You speak truth to your own mind until it bends to your authority. Mental discipline is daily, hourly, moment to moment. It is not glamorous, but it is golden, because it is the secret behind every quiet success story the world never sees until the castle is built. Do not expect to master your life until you master your inner dialogue. Do not expect wealth to follow you until your thinking walks in straight lines. Train your thoughts, or be trained by circumstance. But understand this: you are always being trained. The question is, by what? 5. Think with inner stillness. The calm mind is the most powerful. In a noisy world, the still mind becomes godlike. Stillness is not laziness. It is not indecision. It is the opposite. Stillness is the decision to think before reacting, to reflect before choosing, and to remain centered even when the world trembles. The calm man holds wealth not only because he acts wisely, but because others trust his judgment. His calm becomes capital. His pause becomes power. His silence becomes respect. Let me give you a truth that few understand. Wealth does not rush. It flows. And only the mind that has ceased scrambling, chasing, and doubting can receive its rhythm. When you are still, you become aware. When you are aware, you become deliberate. And when you are deliberate, you become effective. Train your nervous system to remain unshaken. Breathe when others panic. Observe when others flinch. Speak when others babble. And move when the moment is yours, not before. This is not passive, it is profound. It is the mind of the sage, the investor, the builder, the strategist. It is the foundation of wealth that lasts. Be still and know your power. If you have followed thus far with sincerity and concentration, you are no longer the same person you were before these words reached your ears. Something within you has shifted. A recognition has taken root. Perhaps faint at first, but real. You are beginning to understand that wealth is not out there, floating in the chaos of the world. It is in here, coded in the discipline of your mental habits. You do not pursue wealth. You think wealth. You do not chase success. You become the vessel through which success must flow. Now let us examine with precision the very core of what it means to think effectively. For you must not confuse activity with power. The world is full of thinkers who think chaotically, anxiously, emotionally, and who remain broke, frustrated, and exhausted. Why? Because their minds produce noise, not music. They react, not reflect. They want, but they do not will. Let us begin with the highest faculty you possess, the faculty of reason. Reason is the throne of your mind, and its crown is self-command. If you would attract wealth quickly, you must become a rational engine, not a creature of impulse. You must examine every belief that enters your mental palace. Ask it, who sent you? What do you want from me? Do you serve my purpose or steal my peace? You must examine the roots of your thoughts because most thoughts are not yours. They are borrowed, inherited, absorbed from society, from fear, from family, from media, from repetition. And if you allow foreign thoughts to rule your mental kingdom, you are a usurper in your own mind. A man of wealth thinks independently, with accuracy and discipline. He thinks for himself. He asks, is this thought aligned with my goal, or does it sabotage me quietly? And if it does not serve him, he replaces it with a better one not once, but repeatedly, until the new thought becomes the automatic default of his mental mechanism. This is the essence of autosuggestion, a principle I have taught, lived, and proven. You speak to yourself again and again until your subconscious kneels before your chosen identity. You say, I am calm, clear, and wealthy. Not because it is yet true in the outer world, but because it must be planted in the inner world first. Now, let us address another poison to effective thinking, the need for approval. This is the silent killer of mental greatness. You cannot think effectively if your thoughts are filtered through the question, will they approve of me? Approval is a leash, and while the dog may bark, he will never roam freely. The mind that seeks to please cannot create wealth, for wealth requires risk. Wealth demands unpopular decisions. Wealth demands independence of vision. And so, the thinker who is enslaved by the opinions of others forfeits his wealth before he even opens the vault. Detach from approval. Detach from applause. Think with clarity, not consensus. The herd is not rich. The crowd is not wise. If you want what few have, you must think as few do. Let me give you a warning. Mental clarity is lonely at first. When you begin to think effectively, when you detach emotionally, when you act with rational purpose, others will not understand. They will call you cold, strange, obsessed. Let them. You are not here to be understood by mediocrity. You are here to rise. Effective thinking is a revolt against mental laziness. It requires effort. It requires inner confrontation. It requires that you observe yourself ruthlessly and relentlessly, as a sculptor examines every inch of his marble. When you think in alignment with your goal, you create congruence, and that congruence becomes energy, and that energy becomes magnetism, and that magnetism attracts results. This is no superstition. This is law. Thought is cause. Result is effect. Now let us examine what I call the principle of thought first. It is simple in language, but eternal in power. Before you feel, act, or speak, you must think. Most men reverse this. They feel, then speak, they react, then regret, they act, then explain. But not the disciplined thinker. He trains his thought to precede all motion. Before you spend money, think. Before you make a decision, think. Before you respond to insult, think. Before you agree to an offer, to a partnership, to a dream, think. And not merely casually, but precisely, effectively, deliberately. This is what separates the masses from the masters. The master thinks before he moves, and because of this, every movement is powerful. Let us now turn to the most sacred secret of all. You become what you think about most consistently and emotionally. This is not wishful thinking. It is scientific truth. The dominant thought, repeated with feeling, becomes the core of your identity. And identity drives behavior, and behavior drives destiny. If you think in fear, your actions will be small. If you think in doubt, your results will be uncertain. But if you think in wealth, in calm, in clarity, then wealth, calm, and clarity will seek you like iron seeks the magnet. Guard your mind. Guard it like a king guards his treasury. Not everything belongs inside. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves your obedience. You must train your inner gatekeeper to ask, is this useful? Is this aligned? Is this mine? If not, reject it. Not rudely, but firmly. Do not fight with unworthy thoughts. Simply replace them. Let them pass like clouds in a windless sky and reassert your power with a better one. Now, I speak to the part of you that already knows the truth. You have glimpsed it in quiet moments, those times when you knew you were meant for more. When you felt the still, commanding whisper, you are more than this. You are not your fears. You are not your past. You are not your reactivity. You are thought itself, and you can choose. Choose now. Choose to think with force. Choose to think with detachment. Choose to think with accuracy. Choose to think with clarity. Choose to think in wealth, and wealth will come. But not before. For as surely as day follows night, and harvest follows seed, result follows thought. You are not waiting for success. You are either thinking it or delaying it. You are not hoping for wealth. You are either commanding it or repelling it. You are not seeking power. You are either building it or betraying it. And all of this begins in the secret workshop of your inner world. That workshop is sacred. That workshop is sovereign. And from this moment forward, you shall no longer allow chaos, doubt, or distraction to desecrate its halls. You will sit at your mental throne not as a beggar, but as a builder. Not as a follower, but as a founder. Not as a victim of thought, but as its master. And from that mastery shall emerge not only wealth, but greatness. There is a hidden law operating in every moment of your life, a law that does not care whether you acknowledge it, worship it, or ignore it. And it is this: whatever dominates your inner world creates your outer reality. You cannot escape it, you can only direct it. This is why mastering emotional detachment is not just an ideal, it is survival. Because if your emotional climate is dictated by the world, then your power is rented. If your peace depends on conditions, then your wealth is conditional. If your thinking is triggered by events, then your results are dictated by chaos. And chaos does not pay dividends. But when you begin to truly master the inner terrain, when you become so calm that even disappointment bends around you like wind around stone, then the world must kneel to your vibration. I now speak to your strength, not your suffering. I speak to the disciplined you, not the distracted one. And I say to you, once and for all, stop managing symptoms and begin commanding causes. You say you want wealth quickly, then remove every thought that conflicts with abundance. You say you want peace, then eliminate the need to be right, the need to be liked, the need to be seen. You say you want greatness, then let go of weakness disguised as comfort. You must think like the person you intend to become, not like the person your past has sculpted you to be. Let me give you a foundational practice, not theory, but principle to integrate these truths. Every morning, before you expose yourself to the noise of the world, ask yourself one question: who must I be today to magnetize my desired future? And do not answer emotionally. Answer strategically. If you must be calm, then think calmly. If you must be decisive, then think in conclusions. If you must be wise, then think through the lens of long-term consequences. You cannot think like a reactionary and expect the results of a visionary. You cannot think like a victim and walk like a king. You cannot think like yesterday and expect tomorrow to bow to you. Every successful person you admire, every titan of industry, every builder of empires became great not because of mere strategy, but because of mental character. Mental character is the armor through which no sabotage, no betrayal, no criticism, and no delay can penetrate. It is built brick by brick with every disciplined thought, every self-directed belief, every emotionally neutral decision that honors purpose over pleasure. Let me now expose a hidden enemy that paralyzes many: emotional addiction. Yes, addiction not to substances, but to emotional patterns. You see, most people are not addicted to struggle. They are addicted to the chemical experience of stress or guilt or self-doubt because it is familiar. Familiarity feels like truth to the undisciplined mind. But we are not here to be emotionally familiar. We are here to be emotionally free. Emotional detachment does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop obeying feelings that sabotage your future. It means you observe your mind as you would observe a machine with precision, not pity. It means you speak to yourself with authority, not anxiety. It means you ask, does this thought serve my wealth? Before you allow it space in your consciousness. And if it doesn't, you replace it. You replace it with purpose. You replace it with clarity. You replace it with a better signal. Because that's what your thoughts are, signals. And what you signal consistently, you receive abundantly. So let me challenge you right now. What are you broadcasting into the field of possibility? Do your thoughts signal wealth or worry? Do your inner conversations affirm power or plead for pity? Are you mentally focused or emotionally scattered? You want to attract wealth quickly? Then you must discipline your mind with military precision. There are no loopholes. There is no hack. The law is this: you become what you dwell upon, and you attract what you have become. The average man wakes up and asks, what must I do today? But the master of mind wakes up and declares, what must I think today? That one question, if practiced, will shift the trajectory of your life. Because if your actions are not aligned with your highest thinking, they are sabotage in disguise. You must elevate your mental altitude above your emotional weather. The skies of the soul are only clear to those who rise. Let us go further. Let us talk about time, not in the sense of minutes, but in the sense of mental focus. For the man who lacks mental discipline will forever be at the mercy of distraction. Let me give you this law. Where attention goes, results grow. If your attention is on the past, regret grows. If your attention is on others, comparison grows. If your attention is on gossip, irrelevance grows. But if your attention is on purpose, wealth grows. If your attention is on mastery, skill grows. If your attention is on discipline, freedom grows. Time is not money. Attention is money. Because attention is energy, and energy is the currency of all creation. You must learn to treat your attention like gold. Guard it. Invest it wisely. Never squander it on the cheap opinions of people who do not carry your vision. Now let us return to the internal arena, the invisible world, where all battles are won or lost before the world sees the scoreboard. I ask you now, who do you talk to the most each day? Yourself. And what is the nature of that dialogue? Is it empowering or enslaving? Is it directive or desperate? Is it consistent with wealth or polluted by complaint? You must audit your inner dialogue like an accountant audits an empire, because that voice is the architect of your results. If you say to yourself, this is hard, I'm not ready, what if I fail? Then you have already lost, because the body cannot outperform the blueprint the mind has accepted. But if you say, this challenge shapes me, I am equipped, I am rising, then the world has no choice but to bend to your vibration. This is not mysticism. This is mechanics. The mind is programmable. The soul is responsive. And your reality is obedient to the command of your dominant internal narrative. Speak with power, and power shall obey. Now I must deliver to you a final truth in this portion of the message, a truth so simple, yet so often missed by even the most ambitious minds. The way you think about yourself determines what you permit yourself to receive. If you still see yourself as small, unworthy, struggling, then you will unconsciously reject or sabotage wealth even when it knocks at your door. But if you rewire your thinking to see yourself as sovereign, not arrogant, but deeply deserving, then you will make decisions that multiply your opportunities, attract higher standards, and move in harmony with your destined greatness. Change your self-image, and your income will follow. Change your inner posture, and your life will bow. You do not get what you wish for. You do not even get what you work for. You get what you think from. So think from greatness. Think from power. Think from wealth, not toward it. Think as if you already possess it in mind. And then act as such, speak as such, build as such, command as such. And the world, though it may delay, must eventually obey. Let us now discuss what may be the most overlooked yet most powerful form of thought: deliberate expectation. I do not speak of casual hope. I do not speak of passive wishing. I speak of expectation as a commanded frequency, a mental position from which your world takes instruction. Understand this. Expectation is a force. It is not merely belief. It is certainty in motion. It is invisible confidence. It is the refusal to negotiate with doubt. And the man who expects wealth does not chase it. He prepares for it. Do you understand the gravity of that? When a man expects greatness, he does not beg for opportunity, he builds for it. He walks, speaks, and behaves as if the doors are already opening. Why? Because his mind no longer entertains a plan B. He has burned the ships of self-doubt. He has closed the gates to mediocrity. He has declared war on mental hesitation. And in doing so, he bends the laws of the unseen toward him not with magic, but with alignment. Listen to me. If you expect poverty, the world will give you discount opportunities, broken promises, and half-filled plates. But if you expect wealth, and I mean from the marrow of your thought, not the surface of your voice, the world will begin to organize itself differently around you. Why? Because expectation reveals identity, and identity determines permission, and the world can only give you what you give yourself permission to hold. This is why you must stop speaking from desperation and start thinking from declaration. Do not say, I want more. Say, I am more. Do not say, I hope it works. Say, I decide it will work because I will until it does. This is what effective thinkers do. They plant the flag of certainty before the battle begins. And then they fight, not for victory, but from it, because the decision was already made in the mind. Let me give you a practical law. Wealth is not attracted to effort. It is attracted to certainty backed by execution. You can work hard and still repel success if your energy is desperate. You can grind and still stay broke if your internal story is small. But if your inner monologue is disciplined, if your emotions are detached, if your thinking is structured around power, not pity, then even a few deliberate actions carry massive results because they are executed from an aligned identity. Let's go deeper now. What truly is the purpose of mastering your mind? Is it simply to attract dollars, properties, titles? The true purpose of mental mastery is liberation from dependence on the external world. When you can create peace without circumstances, when you can produce confidence without applause, when you can hold purpose without permission, you become invincible, and the universe loves a man it cannot control. Let me give you a revelation. Your wealth is waiting behind the version of you the world cannot manipulate. Until you reach that level of internal sovereignty, you will always be a servant to other people's choices, to economy, to trend, to boss, to mood, to fear. But once you stand alone, mentally armed, and emotionally untouchable, then you are ready for everything. Because then you lack nothing. You may be in debt, but you no longer carry a poor man's spirit. You may be doubted, but you no longer seek external validation. You may be building quietly, but you know what's coming. Because you're not just working. You're thinking correctly, and that is everything. Now let's confront another dangerous illusion, the illusion of motivation over mastery. Motivation is emotional sugar. Mastery is mental discipline. The world is full of inspired men who do nothing, who feel everything but build nothing, who start everything but finish nothing. Why? Because they feel their way through life instead of think their way to destiny. But a master, a disciplined thinker, he does not wait to feel like it. He commands his body with the decree of the mind. He shows up because he decided to, not because it felt good. That is how wealth is attracted not by emotional wind, but by directional fire. Now I must introduce a sacred principle few ever understand and even fewer live by. Silence is the secret weapon of the elite thinker. Not just verbal silence, but mental stillness. The ability to pause, to think, to choose while others react. Silence is where your real strategy is born. When others panic, you pause. When others gossip, you grow. When others seek noise, you seek power in the quiet chambers of the mind. Do not confuse quiet with weakness. The loudest mind in the room is usually the most unstable. But the thinker who remains composed, focused, and strategic, he controls outcomes even in chaos. The market may crash, but his mind does not. The relationship may break, but his mission does not. The world may turn upside down, but he stands tall because he is anchored within. This is not poetry. This is mental infrastructure. This is how you win. Let me tell you this. You are not building habits. You are building identity. You are not just learning to wake up early, think clearly, control emotion. You are becoming a person who does not tolerate internal disorder. You are becoming mentally sovereign. And mental sovereignty attracts material sovereignty. You want to command wealth? Then become unshakable. Not someday, not when it feels good. Now, decide. Think from wealth. Act from clarity. Move from purpose. Speak from conviction. Lead from inner truth. And the world will eventually follow your internal orders. Because the external world is nothing but the servant of inner command. Napoleon Hill once declared, "Accurate thinking is the foundation of all successful achievement." But what does it truly mean to think accurately? Not merely logically, not merely positively, but accurately. To think accurately is to separate fact from opinion, cause from noise, principle from personality, and this requires effort. Effort most will never give. Because to think accurately means to think beyond bias, beyond emotion, beyond your preferences and past pains. It means asking, what is true, not what feels good? And this one distinction separates those who wish for wealth from those who command it. Let me offer you a law. If your thinking is not accurate, your planning will be wrong. And if your planning is wrong, your action will be misguided. And if your action is misguided, your results will betray your intention. That is the slow death of the undisciplined mind. But you are different. You are here to think accurately, to cut away mental fluff, to pierce the fog of assumption with the sword of disciplined analysis. Start here. Every thought you allow must be interrogated. Ask it, is this thought grounded in verified fact? Does this belief serve my long-term vision? Does this idea make me more capable or more emotional? Is this conclusion based on evidence or reaction? Because emotion without examination is a con artist. It masquerades as truth, but it is not. It is impulse in costume. Accurate thinkers, the builders of empires, the architects of wealth, they do not trust thoughts by default. They earn the right to believe them. They gather data. They test logic. They filter for truth. And what happens when your mind becomes a filter, not a sponge? You become untouchable. You no longer absorb every fear, every criticism, every trend, every excuse. You evaluate, you choose, you direct. And because of that, your thoughts become high-quality material. And just as a building cannot outlast the strength of its steel, your results cannot outlast the strength of your thoughts. Strong thoughts, clear thoughts, accurate thoughts. That is the architecture of wealth. Now let me warn you, the greatest threat to accurate thinking is emotional urgency. The moment your emotions demand a reaction, your accuracy is compromised. Urgency is not always your friend. It often disguises itself as passion, but it is often just pressure masquerading as clarity. Let me give you a principle. The man who can pause thinks better than the man who must act fast. Stillness before decision is the habit of all elite thinkers. So when the pressure rises, the accurate thinker does not yield. He breathes, he observes, he writes, he reviews. Then and only then he acts. Because his decisions are not reactions. They are results of processed thought. Now, listen carefully. If you can master the discipline of mental delay, you can master the acceleration of results. Why? Because fast actions made from weak thinking require correction, and correction is expensive. But slow, deliberate, intelligent thinking leads to right action the first time. And that saves you years. This is how you attract wealth quickly, not by rushing blindly, but by thinking clearly, then acting decisively. Let us now elevate further. Let us now unlock one of the rarest mental disciplines known to man, the discipline of observation without judgment. You see, most people observe their life circumstances through the lens of personal emotion. They cannot separate what is from what they feel about what is. This is the root of distortion. This is where people fail to see opportunities hidden within what appears to be crisis. But the disciplined thinker does something different. He sees reality as it is, without panic, without judgment, without narrative. He sees numbers, not just feelings. He sees patterns, not just events. He sees opportunities for leverage, not losses. To observe without judgment is not to become cold. It is to become precise. Imagine the mind of a surgeon. When he sees a wound, he does not panic. He evaluates. He focuses. He moves with purpose, not because he lacks emotion, but because he has trained his mind to prioritize performance over panic. This is the mind you must build. The observer's mind, the calm commander, the inner general who does not flinch when the world trembles. Because when the world trembles, your wealth will depend on your ability to remain composed. Let me tell you the truth. Calm minds make more. Still minds decide better. Detached minds see further. You want wealth? Train your mind to be neutral under pressure. Because money flows to those who solve problems. And problems require thinking, not reacting. So discipline your mind to observe first. Reflect second. Then act if action is truly required. That is power. That is effectiveness. That is wealth attraction. You were never meant to be ruled by circumstance. You were never meant to be governed by emotion. You were never meant to bow to fear, opinion, or impulse. You were meant to govern yourself. And I do not mean in the way the world casually speaks of self-control. I speak of inner authority, the deep, undeniable, unshakable awareness that your thoughts are the law. Not the market, not the news, not your trauma, not your family history, not your mood, your thoughts. Your thinking is not some passive reaction to what happens around you. Your thinking is the command center of all creation. When you possess inner authority, you do not ask for permission to succeed. You do not wait for support. You do not explain yourself to people who cannot see your vision. You command yourself. You give orders to your nervous system. You give structure to your focus. You give instructions to your emotions. You say, I will feel this now. You say, I will act this way now. You say, I will believe this now, not because it is convenient, but because it is required for my destiny. This is not arrogance. This is mental leadership. And it is the only kind of leadership that lasts, because no man can lead others until he has first mastered the battlefield within. So I ask you now, who is giving the orders in your life? Is it the version of you built on reaction, fear, and emotional fatigue? Or is it the version of you that is calm, strategic, detached, and sovereign? There is no greater spiritual practice than to rule your own mind, because the man who does not master his mind will inevitably be ruled by lesser men who have mastered theirs. This is the difference between kings and slaves. Kings think on purpose. Slaves think by default. Kings command thought. Slaves obey emotion. And the difference is not in birth, background, or genetics. It is in mental structure. It is in daily practice. It is in silent choices made when no one is watching. Let me now give you a practice that will change your life if, and only if, you live it. Every morning before the world speaks to you, before email, before phone, before noise, you must speak to yourself. And not casually, but as if your future depends on it. Because it does. You must declare your intention with precision. You must feed your mind the exact thought patterns required for your day. You must say, I control my emotional state. I think with clarity and power. I am unaffected by noise or delay. I am building wealth with every decision I make. My inner world is calm, certain, and effective. And then and only then do you proceed into the day. Why? Because if you don't plant your thoughts, the world will plant theirs in you. And weeds grow faster than fruit. Now let me speak directly to your destiny. There is a version of you already alive in the unseen that is capable of unimaginable impact. But that version cannot be reached through shortcuts, hype, or surface-level motivation. It can only be reached through inner mastery. That version of you has no tolerance for emotional reactivity, no room for mental laziness, no interest in approval, no fear of criticism, no distraction from purpose. That version of you thinks clearly. That version of you acts powerfully. That version of you attracts wealth, not through desperation, but through alignment. And here is the final key. You do not become that version of yourself. You decide to be that version now. You stop negotiating with the past. You stop waiting for the right mood, moment, or miracle. You choose. You act as if you already are who you must become, and then reality bends around that identity. You walk, talk, build, breathe, and think from that version forward. And when the world tests you, because it will, you do not shrink back into the old self. You hold the line, because the mind you have built is no longer a house of cards. It is a temple, and that temple is no longer open to fear, indecision, or weakness. It is occupied by purpose, by clarity, by command, by you. This is the final threshold. What began as a desire to think effectively has now become a spiritual initiation. You no longer merely think thoughts. You direct consciousness. You wield mind like a blade. You create results on purpose. You are no longer the same. And from this moment on, you cannot pretend to be. You now know the truth. And that truth is this. The world bows to the man who thinks with conviction, detachment, and direction. That man is you. From this point forward, act like it. Speak like it. Build like it. And the wealth you seek, it will arrive faster than you can imagine, because it will not be a miracle. It will be a reflection of your thinking. You were never meant to be average. You were never meant to kneel before emotion, or beg life to give you peace, or explain your fire to people drowning in their own apathy. You were not born to chase. You were not born to hope. You were born to decide, to command, to build, to embody. You are not some collection of flesh and fear. You are thought, electrified. You are spirit, organized. You are a walking vibration of cause. And this very moment you decide to detach from the noise, to silence the excuses, to crucify the emotional addictions that have fed on your power in that moment, the world cannot stop what is coming for you. Because now you are no longer asking for results. You are becoming the kind of mind that results must obey. Do you understand? The money you desire? It responds to structure. The life you envision? It responds to internal consistency. The people you wish to attract? They respond to energetic certainty, not to need, not to noise, not to chaos dressed as charisma. The man who attracts all things is the man who needs nothing. And the only way to need nothing truly is to build everything inside. And you have. Right here. Right now. Do not let your old self breathe again. Do not resurrect the weaker you through hesitation, through analysis, through toxic humility that keeps you pretending you're not ready. You are ready. You've always been ready. You were simply waiting for the mental rebirth that this moment has now delivered, and now you will speak differently. You will walk differently. You will listen differently. You will think on purpose, and therefore you will receive on command. Because the universe does not respond to effort alone. It responds to mental congruence. It bends to the man who speaks from vision and moves without contradiction. So let it bend. Let the old life collapse. Let the old self rot in silence while your new mind builds an empire in its place. Let fear try one more time to talk you down and smile, because it no longer has your number. Let every doubt arrive at your door and find you immovable, unbothered, and already 10 steps ahead. Let the world watch as your wealth grows, your peace deepens, your power sharpens, and let them wonder how you did it. And you'll know the answer, but you won't need to say it, because your thinking will say it for you, because your results will echo it for you, because your life, silent and sovereign, will prove it for you. You'll have become something most never dare to become. You'll have become free. And nothing in this world is faster, wealthier, or more unstoppable than a free mind on a focused mission. So go, not with hesitation, with fire, with command, with the knowing that from this moment forward, you are not hoping for wealth. You are radiating it. You are not chasing greatness. You are thinking from it. and everything will now rise to meet you, because the king has taken his throne, and his mind is the crown.